Hey, welcome back to my channel, Youth Doc. Today, we want to discuss this concept of an evangelistic strategy that every student can be involved in. So today we're looking at this strategy for evangelism that every student can be involved in. And I don't know about you, but in my 30 plus years of student ministry, trying to get students involved in evangelism has been very, very hard. As I've pondered this, one of the things I've thought about is this, that evangelism, everything we do about evangelism, everything we really push about evangelism has historically been geared towards the harvester. When you have an evangelist who comes to your church, of course, he has the gift of evangelism, but what does he do? He continues to tell story after story after story about his evangelistic aspects of harvesting, where he has harvested all these people. I've jokingly said you can have an evangelist come, and I actually have heard stories like this, so it's not totally a joke, where an evangelist is driving to the road, going to church to preach to the congregation, stops to help somebody fix their tire, and leads them to Christ right there on the road. You hear those and you think, oh man, I just got to do that. I got to, and then you're challenged that your job as a Christian, you have to evangelize. You have to be an evangelist, as in you have to tell people about Jesus. And so we go at it with that attitude. We take that same concept to the students and push them in that same way. But I want to give us a different thought, a different strategy that I've tried to push with our students, and I encourage you to push with your students. And there's a tool called the deskbesideme.org. It's a website. You can get it. It's a very simple tool, and I want to share that with you today. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 3, 5, and 6, he basically says, I planted and Apollos watered, but God made it grow. Paul gives us this concept of the evangelism being this process of planting, watering, and harvesting. But when we look at evangelism, we always focus on the harvest and we don't focus in on the process. And I think that's an issue that we need to change within the church universal, definitely within our youth groups, to help our students be involved in the evangelistic process. There's a tool, a simple tool that students can get, that you can get and give to them to help them in this process. And that simple tool is this sheet of paper, the desk beside me. Matter of fact, as I'm presenting this is absolutely free. Like, I'm not charging you to get this sheet of paper. It's on the website. You can download it. You can make it. All you got to do is put it in cardstock. This tool is absolutely free. It's a tool for students to be able to put into their notebooks. If they have a 3-ring binder, they can snap it in based on the classes that they attend, and then can use that within this process. So the idea is that a student would take one class or all of their classes to participate this year in this strategy, the desk beside me. It's a simple model that's down here at the bottom. This is the students where they would put their information right in the center, and then they would write around them students that are near them that they could begin to pray for. And so the concept is just those people that are around me that I can look for God to open a door for me to be a part of the evangelistic process. And so that's the tool. Very, very simple. Let me go down the bullet points of this tool. Before I get to the bullet points, let me start with this. What makes this tool a possible avenue, a possible tool that every student can do is because it starts very easy. So and then there's not a set time. It's not like you got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 real quick. It is you just start with the first thing and let God guide the rest. And there's a path if you'll open up your heart to allow God to guide you through that. And so you start with the students with kind of the concept, can't you pray? Aren't you willing to pray for those that are near you, to be a part of this process, to be a part of this on a day-to-day basis? First bullet point is to deliberately think ministry. Deliberately think ministry. Move away from I'm just going to go to school to get my education. I'm going to school because I have to. I'm going to school to keep my parents off my back. Those kind of things. Have your students move away from that to where they're going there to do ministry. They're a missionary on that campus to do ministry. The next bullet point is to pray for those near you in class. And that's the chart that I've been showing. That chart for you to pray for those that are around you. So you're strategically going to begin to just pray. And the only thing you got to start with is their name as you begin to pray, because you write it in the box. And as you get to know them over the year, or if you already know them some, you can begin to pray for them and pray for them in specific ways. Not just God save them, but pray for their things that are going on in their life. Listen to their stories. Be there for them, but begin to pray for them. Then work to get to know them a little better. Engage in conversation with them before and after class. Look to possibly sit with them in the cafeteria. The next bullet point is to live Christ in all ways before those in the desk near you. In other words, then your testimony, you need to live out Jesus. If you're a student, or your students need to live out Jesus in front of those students that they're praying for. And once your students have done those things, thinking about starting with ministry, praying for those that are around them in a strategic way, getting to know those people there, living Christ in front of them, as they take those steps, they earn a right to be heard. And if they get to that place where they have a right to be heard and they can speak it out, then great. If not, they still ought to be a part of this process up to this point. Let God drive each step of the way, and then let God bring to their hearts this opportunity of when they need to share Jesus with people. And then, so you get to these other dots, share Christ with those in the desk near you. That you look for this opportunity, begin to pray, God, okay, I'm getting close, I've made some inroads, I think that they may listen to me now, I've earned the right. So your students then begin to say, okay, God, open up a door for me to share Christ with them. When getting ready to share Christ with them, you can use things like the Romans Road, and there's various things on the website. There's the 4 spiritual laws. In other words, I'm not worried about the path that you use, so to speak, except for the fact of moving them to the fact that they're a sinner, that they need Jesus in their life, and the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ. If sharing the gospel through one of those ways is too much for your student, that doesn't mean they can't still be a part of the harvest if God leads them to. So that could be inviting them to a church youth group activity, especially if you have one youth pastor that is evangelistic in nature, where you're going to share the gospel during that event and give an opportunity for people to come to Christ. You know, priming your students to invite their friends to that event. That would be one way. The aspect of inviting them to a youth group that's loving, caring, and kind, where they're going to hear the gospel on a regular basis. That's another opportunity for you to be able to get the gospel out to those students that your students are working with and loving on and caring about and following this process. And then the last on the sheet is for students to consider making this a lifestyle choice. That yes, this is possible at some level. And so this is going to be one of the things that I do to honor and serve Christ is the desk beside me. That every year when I go to school, I'm going to take a class, 2 classes, 3, 4, 5 classes, and I'm going to pray for those that are around me as I deliberately think ministry and look for opportunities to share the gospel in some way through actually sharing the gospel presentation or in this concept of inviting them to church. All this deals with the Holy Spirit being involved in this process, the students looking for timing that the Holy Spirit's going to open them up on. And I would just challenge you, youth leaders, to consider this as an opportunity for your students to come and participate at some level in evangelism. You can go to the website, thedeskbesideme.org. The link is in the description. You can download these sheets from there. They're free to download. They're in a publisher format if there's something you want to change, or also in a PDF format if you don't have publisher. You can print these, hole punch them, give them out to your students. I keep them in our student ministry room all the time and challenge my students from time to time with that process of sharing their faith through the desk beside me. Wouldn't it be awesome if 50% of your students just grabbed this year and walked through this process? And even if they only got to the part that they were praying for and getting to know some students around them with a heart to see Christ be shared someday with them and never got to share, you realize the impact that beginning process could have in the lives of these students that your students are hanging out with. So I encourage you, look at the website, check it out. If you want to email me, feel free to email me, make comments. I'll interact with those, but it's a simple evangelistic strategy that if we bought into this, I think that it could revolutionize evangelism in the teenagers of the United States. Thanks, guys, for watching this. This has been a passion of mine, the desk beside me, this concept of evangelistic strategy that highlights the process and not just the harvest. You can find it at thedeskbesideme.org. The link to that is in the description below, and I would encourage you to click there, check out that website, download one of these forms to be able to look at with your students. Consider using those with your students this year. I would appreciate it. I'd also love if you've watched some of my videos and you're enjoying what I'm sharing. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to comment about this or something else down below, as well as I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel as I continue to try to develop a channel that helps student ministers based on just 30 years experience, some practical advice, some different insights here or there. Once a week, I try to have a video up every Tuesday, so I would encourage you to check me out on Tuesday or subscribe so you get that notice when a video comes up. Thanks for taking the time to watch.